Hello, everyone. I'm Amy. I'm 18, and my house is a real dump. There's nothing in it worth stealing, but my mom still locks the door. One time, I went to school and forgot my house keys, and she had left for a couple of days to visit her friend. I had to live outside, and she didn't give a damn. But it completely changed my life, and now I'm going to tell you how. It wasn't the first time that Mom had left. The previous time, she had left me without even money for food, but at least I got to sleep in my own bed. This time, all I could do was lie on the porch by the door. The only relative I have is an uncle, but his number was out of service. After school, I was sitting and thinking about who else I could call when I noticed that the most notorious school heartthrob was staring at me again. I immediately felt uneasy. For several years, Carter, that's his name, and his friends on the football team had bullied me. They made fun of how I dressed, where I lived. They called my mom a loser and me a bum. Recently, it had stopped, and Carter started looking at me more, but I didn't know why. I knew I might like it. I usually got attention from guys who didn't know how poor I was and didn't notice the holes in my clothes at first. But it was hard for me to imagine that Carter liked me. He only dated popular girls. I headed towards home. I had been wandering for about an hour when Carter suddenly drove up beside me in his car. He told me that my shack was still around the next corner, so where was I going? I didn't answer. Then he offered to give me a ride. Again, I didn't answer. I felt that it would be better if I didn't get in with him. Then he revved his engine a little, put it in park, and got out. He spoke to me kindly, which I didn't even know he was capable of, and told me that I had nothing to fear and that he would just give me a ride. To get him off my back, I agreed and told him to take me home. The car was comfortable, and I relaxed. My favorite song came on, and I closed my eyes. Then he put his hand on my knee. The snob was trying to humiliate me again. I was terrified and even had the thought to open the door and jump out. But he laughed and said, "Relax. You're not my type. I wanted to make sure that you were awake." Once I had calmed down, I told Carter about the stupid situation with the locked door. He thought for a minute and then offered to let me spend the night at his house. I thought about it and thought some more, and then hesitantly said, "Okay, fine. I'll stay at your place tonight." He didn't seem as bad to me as I had thought before. He took me to his room. I had never seen such luxury. Carter first suggested that I take a shower. I locked the shower door, hoping it would stop him if he decided to come in. I was still afraid that he might want to take advantage of me. When I got out of the shower, I saw that I was right to feel that way. Carter's mouth hung open when he saw me. I knew what he was thinking, and I wanted to run away again. But he settled into a chair across from me and let me have the bed. We lay in silence, and then he asked when my mother would be coming back. I told him I didn't know for sure. Then he said that I could stay as long as I wanted. I didn't even know how to react. He started asking about my family, what I like to do, what I love. When I was talking about how Dad left us, he suddenly laid down next to me. I immediately jumped up, but he said he wouldn't bother me. It was just that he couldn't hear from the armchair. Plus, it wasn't as comfortable there as on the bed. I don't remember how, but I fell asleep. When I woke up, Carter was sitting on the chair across from me and looking at me. "Well, aren't you a sleepyhead?" he said. It was 11 o'clock! I had slept through school for the first time! I quickly started packing my stuff, but it turned out that Carter had already planned our day. After a simply divine breakfast, he took me to a store. He told me that I could choose whatever I wanted. I didn't believe he was serious. After all, I was used to having to choose between ripped jeans and a worn dress. I hesitated to accept such a gift, so Carter said that he would choose everything himself. He offered me an incredibly extravagant dress, which you could only wear to the Met Gala, so I took over from there. We bought so many things. dresses, a jacket, shoes, and even underwear, and a new phone. I had never been so happy. It was like Christmas, and Carter was my own personal Santa. I couldn't even believe that this was the same guy who had terrified me for so many years. And then we went for a drive. We drove 200 miles, listening to music and chatting. And then we stopped in a field, and he started taking pictures of me. And then we kissed for the first time. And not only kissed. When we got into the car, he took me back to his place. The next day, when we came to school, he took me by the hand, in front of everyone. I was so embarrassed and avoided him the rest of the day. I couldn't believe this was really happening. I was absolutely not a match for him. Wasn't he embarrassed to be seen with me in front of his friends? And then I got a message from my mom that she was back. I didn't want to go home, but I had no more reason to stay with Carter. But when I told him, he didn't want to let me go. He said that he wanted me to live with him. Period. For almost a month now, I've been going back to my house only occasionally, and the rest of the time I spend at Carter's house. Mom tells me all the time that he's playing with me, that it's all a big game for rich people, to take girls from the street and make princesses out of them, and that soon he would get tired of me and would throw me out, and I would be left with a broken heart. I'm really worried that that's going to happen someday. That was my story. I live with him for now. What do you think about this?
When I was 16 years old, I moved to a new high school with my best friend. I didn't bother to make new friends. I had Dakota, my best friend, by my side, and nothing else mattered. Everything was normal for the first 2 weeks, until one day I was on my way to class, when suddenly someone bumped into me and my cup of coffee spilled all over my clothes. Ew. Then I heard someone saying, "I'm really sorry, are you okay?" I looked up to see, and it was a handsome guy with football clothes. He apologized and cleaned the spilled coffee with his towel. He was staring straight into my eyes with his gorgeous blue eyes. My face turned red. He handed me the towel and said, "I'm sorry again. I have to hurry to the football game." Dakota came running to me. She saw everything and said, "Did you just bump into Noah, the hottest guy in school?" Oh my God. I didn't know who he was, but he was definitely hot. Then Dakota said, "Did you see how he was staring at you? And he gave you his towel too." Then she said to me that clearly he was so into me. She just felt it. I took his towel with me and sniffed it. It smelled like coffee and sweat, mixed with a little bit of his perfume. I couldn't stop thinking about him staring at me. I went home after school and hugged his towel. I knew that I had to return it. That's why that night I slept cuddling it. The next morning, I washed it and took it with me and went to school. After my first class, I went to the football team's room and asked the coach if Noah was there. He told me that he's in the shower room. I went there and waited for him to come out. All of the other team members came out except for him. Maybe he forgot to bring a new towel and he got stuck in there. So I decided to go inside and give it to him. I went inside and heard someone singing in the shower. I immediately recognized the voice. It was Noah's. I went inside and saw him showering while singing. I met a girl. She made me smile. She made me wait. My heart stopped. He was singing about me. I knew it. I stared at him and couldn't move. When he finished showering, he opened his eyes and I could tell that he was surprised to see me. He said nervously, "What are you doing here, and who are you?" Oh, he was playing hard to get. I told him, "Here's your towel, it's clean now." He grabbed it and said, "Okay, thanks, I guess you can get out of the boys' shower now." I saw him blushing. I knew that he liked that I saw him with no clothes on. After that, whenever he saw me, he smiled and waved. I followed him on all his social media accounts. On his Instagram story, he kept posting romantic songs. I knew that it was his way of flirting with me. Dakota knew very well that I had a huge crush on Noah, and he had a crush on me, too. One day after my math class, I was walking in the hallway and saw him. I decided to follow him. He entered the boys' bathroom, and when I passed by it, a hand grabbed me inside the bathroom. It was Noah's. He pushed me against the wall and said, "We're gonna have so much fun together." He wanted to kiss me. But I refused. I pushed him back. I wanted our first kiss to be somewhere romantic, not in the boys' bathroom. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice saying, "Stop what you're doing." It was Dakota. She pushed Noah aside and grabbed me by the hand and dragged me outside. What's her problem? I didn't like what he did either, but she didn't have to push him. Dakota turned to me with an angry face and yelled, "What were you thinking going inside the boys' bathroom?" I explained to her that it was Noah's fault. He was the one who dragged me in. Later that day, I was called into the principal's office. Noah was sitting there with a furious face, and there was another guy sitting next to him. The principal asked me what I was doing in the bathroom. She said that the guy sitting there told her he had heard some noises while he was inside, and when he came out, he saw 2 girls leaving and Noah standing there fixing his clothes. He knew that something wrong had happened. Noah said he didn't do anything, but the principal stopped him and said she wanted to hear me first. Well, I didn't want to tell her that I was dragged in by my crush, but I couldn't lie to her either. I told her that he grabbed me to kiss me, but I refused. Noah's face looked like he was about to explode. He wanted to yell at me, but the principal told him he wasn't allowed to talk. He got suspended for 3 days. I felt bad for him. The guy I like was suspended because of me. I had to make it right. I went to his Instagram account and saw that he posted a picture that says, "She just broke my heart. I felt terrible for what I did." Those 3 days went so slow. I waited until Noah's return so I can apologize to him face to face. After 3 days, I expected to see Noah at school, but I didn't. After my PE class, I asked to leave earlier so I could shower before everyone else. As I was entering the bathroom, I bumped into someone. It was Noah. He looked shocked. I was shocked too. What was he doing there? He looked at me for a few seconds and stormed out. I walked inside and noticed that on the floor was a small note. I picked it up and opened it, and I was shocked by what was written on it. "I'm so sorry. I love you. Let's just forgive each other and be happy together." And I saw the letter N written on the side. I couldn't believe it. Was he stalking me? Did he just risk everything to apologize in the girls' bathroom? I went to Dakota to tell her what happened. I explained to her how Noah was waiting for me in the bathroom to apologize. But I got an unexpected reaction from her. She said, "Leave the guy alone and stop harassing him." I yelled back, "He's the one who's stalking me, you moron." She left angry. I couldn't believe that she was the same person I used to call my friend. I knew she was jealous since one of the hottest guys at school was after me. I was upset that I lost my best friend, and it was all because of Noah. So I decided to ignore him. Whenever I saw him, I turned my face in the opposite direction. A week passed by and I ignored him completely. One day, as I was walking to my window to close the curtains, I saw someone standing there in front of my house's gate. To my shock, it was none other than Noah. He was standing there holding his phone. How did he know where I lived? Or was it only a coincidence? As I was staring at him, I caught him staring back at me. My heart dropped. I backed from the window, sat on the bed for a few minutes, and came back to the window. Noah was gone. Why was he stalking me? Or did he know that I like him back, so he decided to stalk me? To my horror, the same thing happened for 2 days in a row. I decided to go to the police station and report him. I went there and explained everything. They told me that they can't do anything without evidence. So I decided to collect the needed evidence to prove it. I had to watch his every move and document it. So I started taking pictures of him at school and kept an eye on him. After 1 week of collecting evidence to prove Noah's guilt, the police came to my school. Finally, they came to get him. I admit I liked Noah, but I didn't like being stalked by anyone. 2 police officers approached me, and I was ready to show them the evidence when they said, "Young lady, you have to come with us. You're under arrest." What? They want to arrest me? They got the wrong person. I tried to explain, but they said they'll hear everything at the police station. When we arrived there, I saw Noah with Dakota and my parents. What on earth is going on? One of the police officers said, "We got a complaint that you've been stalking this guy for a while, and there's a witness." Dakota stood up and said that I'm a delusional person, and that I've been stalking Noah since the day he bumped into me. She said that I went into the boys' bathroom and forced myself on him, and she dragged me out at the last minute, and I went to the boys' shower and stood there staring at him. The boys who were there saw it. Also, Noah and his friends noticed that I followed him everywhere and informed the principal. Dakota said she'd warned me many times, but I ignored her. No, that can't be true. She's lying. Then I said, what about the romantic Instagram posts and about Noah sneaking into the girls' bathroom and that little note? Then Noah looked nervous and said, it was meant for someone else, I admit. I sneaked into the bathrooms, but the note was meant for Dakota. I like her. What? He has a crush on Dakota? My world shattered in seconds. Am I hallucinating? I looked at Dakota and she looked shocked and unaware of Noah's feelings. But what about you sneaking around my home every day? He said that one of his friends lived in the same neighborhood and he didn't know that I lived there. I couldn't believe what I heard. Everyone was lying. Then one of the officers took my phone and I could see his expression change. He then said, you have a whole albums with thousands of pictures of this guy. How would you like to explain this? I looked at him confused and said, what do you mean? A police officer asked me to bring evidence when I came by a few weeks ago. He looked confused and took my parents aside and talked to them. After that, I went home to my parents and they told me that I will go with them to see a psychologist the next day. I didn't want to argue, so I went. There, the psychologist told me that I had a condition called erotomania. I've been imagining all of that. I was obsessed with Noah to the point that everything that he said and did, I thought it was related to me. And he didn't stalk me at all. I was the stalker. She told me that everything that happened to me happened only in my head and nothing was real. My friend tried warning me, but I didn't listen to her. And that's why she spoke to my parents about it. I didn't want to accept anything that this strange woman said. She also told me that we will have more meetings in the future. I didn't believe anything she said, but at least I won't have any stalkers anytime soon.